Sickle cell disease is a form of anemia that comes about due to the mutation at the DNA level, which affects the protein hemoglobin. And hemoglobin carries oxygen throughout your body in the blood cells. Due to a mutation, here, as drawn out here, which takes place at the DNA level on this side, a mutation between a T and an A, this leads to an irregular development of the protein hemoglobin, leading to it being clumped together. In the visual aid, this takes place in the cell, causing the cell to have a sickle shape instead of having a normal development as seen on the right side here. In the U.S. right now, there are at least 100,000 people who are affected by the disease. 1 in every 365 African American births are affected by this disease, as well as 1 in every 16,300 Hispanic births in America. 1 in 13 African American babies will be born with the trait, unfortunately, and about 300,000 births annually between Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia have the disease as well. 10 to 40% carry the trait in African countries of descent, with causing a 2% prevalence in those having the actual disease. The disease is inherited by the parents. You need 2 parents to inherit the symptoms. You can have the disease if only inherited by 1 parent. However, you will have the defective trait, meaning that the symptoms will not take place in your body. However, you can pass that trait along if you are to come together with someone else who has the sickle cell disease like yourself. Sickle cell causes a lot of symptoms or causes a lot of problems because of it. One thing that takes place is that the sickle cells causes blockage within your blood. This prevents regular blood flow and causes irregular blood flow, meaning that many parts of the body aren't able to receive the oxygen nor are unable to receive the blood necessary to act properly. Furthermore, sickle cells have a shelf life between 10 to 20 days as compared to regular blood cells who have a shelf life of 120 days or about that time. This means that that person is in a consistent lack of oxygen and a consistent lack of blood cells, which leads to fatigue, which leads to tiredness, which leads to complications within their bodies, such as organ disorders, or an increased chance of infections due to the spleen being improperly able to work. Spleens are usually able to filter bacteria through the blood, but due to blockages and lack of oxygens, they're presented in doing this. Strokes are also a danger because blood doesn't go to the head as properly as it should. It is important to note that sickle cell expresses itself in people in different ways. The severity is expressed in different ways, but the trait is common that there is a lack of blood and consistent oxygen flow throughout the body due to the mutation. Some of the treatments that are suggested are really just to cope and deal with the pain. There is no particular cure. The greatest chance of a cure takes place through blood and bone marrow transplants. However, this is usually done in children and not usually done in adults just because of the risk that comes along with it. There is an 85% success rate when it comes to children, but 5% of that has 5% of people who have gone through the transplant have died. On the other hand, for adults, there's less chances of a cure and more chances of having to just cope with the disease. This includes things such as blood transfusions, hydroxyurea, which decreases inflammation and reduces the crisis. However, that can also lower your white blood cell count. Penicillin is also used. Also, over-the-counter drugs such as Tylenol, some opioids, ibuprofen may be used to help with mild inflammation and mild crises that takes place when blood vessels are crowded or clogged due to the sickle cell causes. Rest is asked about the person. Also, water is told the person to drink and also to have heat for that person. This helps open the blood cells or helps open the veins so that blood can flow more properly. However, because of the nature of the disease, there's not much of a cure for it, and many people are affected are just called to have to cope with the disease. There are health centers, but the cost is high for those who want to deal with the disease. For example, if you're to age 45, lifelong help would cost about $1 million. For children, it's about $10,000, and for adults, it's about $30,000 to receive proper care and treatment. The mortality rate has increased by 1% among adults from 1979 to 2005, so there is a greater need to help adults, though there is help for children as well. In 17 states in the U.S., including California, Los Angeles, South Carolina, Florida, Delaware, Maryland, Tennessee, Virginia, Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, New York, Pennsylvania, and Illinois carry about 85% of the people in this country who deal with sickle cell disease. Sickle cell is a disease that is important to know. It is only inherited, so it's not something to be infected. And a way to prevent it is really to make sure, a way to prevent further complications is really to do the needs of taking care of yourself, which is drinking water, getting your vaccinations when important, making sure you go to the doctors, dealing with the severity as you can, and really just hoping and for more research and more help financially so a cure can be found. I would like to thank the references of the State of Sickle Cell Disease 2016, American Society of Hematology, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital Taking Control, Teens with Sickle Cell Disease, Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, Understanding Evolution from Berkeley, University of California, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, the U.S. National Library of Medicine, the Mayo Clinic, and the MTS Sickle Cell Foundation, Inc., for giving me the information necessary to be able to present to you my presentation on sickle cell disease. I hope that this helps you to move forward with how to deal with disease, and thank you for your time.